So let me give you an update on the Ferguson protests. On Friday, we discussed how the police released a video of Mike Brown allegedly robbing $49 worth of cigars from a convenience store. Now, that robbery was 100% unrelated to the police confronting him, and they admit that the actual reason why there was a confrontation is because Mike Brown was, quote, walking in the street. But nonetheless, the police department decided to release the tape anyway. And let's be honest, the reason why they did it is to try to do character assassination and to wink, wink, and nod, nod to the public and say, oh, yeah, you know, he might have gotten shot and killed, but was he really... Did he really deserve to be here anyway? I mean, look, he's kind of an asshole, stole some cigars. And you have to understand, man, reporters went to work on the police chief and said, but wait. So you're showing this tape and you're talking about it, and then later on in your press conference, like fucking 40 minutes later, you admit, like, oh yeah, did I mention that at the time there was a confrontation that had nothing to do with the robbery? Did I mention that? Did I mention it was because he was walking in the street? Did I say that? So again, it's a clear case of character assassination where they're trying to plant the idea in your mind that the initial back and forth between Mike Brown and the cop was because, the cop learned that he robbed the store and he was looking for him. That's not what happened. And Anonymous had hacked into the radios after the fact, and we knew that cop did not know, okay? And he was just being a dick to Mike Brown and saying, get out of the street, and then that led to the confrontation. And then Mike Brown ran away, hands in the air, and was gunned down. So the release of the tape emboldened protesters, got them more mad, and they came out with even more passion. Now, unfortunately, it's not just the good police in control of the situation anymore. If you remember, we spoke about it on Friday that Captain Ron Johnson, is it? Yeah, Captain Ron Johnson took over. He's a highway patrol officer in Missouri. He took over. Cooler heads prevailed briefly. The Ferguson cops were told to step aside because they were using tear gas too much, using rubber bullets and noise machines and all this crazy stuff. Well, they're not all gone. I guess the Ferguson cops are still there, and they're still doing fucked up shit. So because the protests escalated, they decided to break out the tear gas again, break out the rubber bullets and noise machines and armored vehicles. And then, this is one that really pissed me off. They decided to implement a curfew. Why are you doing that? And when they did that, of course, that emboldened the protesters even more, because they're like, wait. Don't tell me I have freedom of speech if you say you have freedom of speech for when I tell you to speak. Oh, you have freedom to protest, except that you don't, and I'm going to tell you when you can't do it. And it's after this time. And also, a curfew, really? So what if somebody has to go to work at 3 o'clock in the morning? What about that? Okay, what if there's an emergency situation and somebody needs to go to the hospital and they're out in the street? What about that? Are you going to tear gas them immediately because it's people walking the street after the time you told them to go to bed like they're a 7-year-old? No, I'm totally against the idea of a curfew. Now, thankfully, we just got the news right before we came on air that the curfew has been lifted for tonight. They realized that just made the problem worse. So, look, to be clear and to be fair, there was some looting and some rioting that happened within the past few days. But look, I think it's pretty clear that the reason the looting and the rioting happened, again, it completely went away when Captain Ron Johnson took over and treated the protesters with respect. But it looks like it happened again when Ferguson police got involved again and when they tried to do character assassination on Michael Brown and when they tried to implement the curfew. So here are some more specifics. Children were hit with tear gas. Children. There was also a woman in a wheelchair who was hit with tear gas. 3 more journalists were detained. I mean, we were flipping out about that a few days ago when 2 journalists were detained. And now 3 more were detained. And also, we just got the horrible news that the autopsy information was released and Michael Brown was shot at least 6 times, twice in the head. Stop and think about that. Now, we also have a new eyewitness who came out and said, Not only was Michael Brown running away with his hands in the air, the police officer was chasing him as he was running away with his hands in the air, chasing him and shooting at him. So it wasn't like, oh, Mr. Police Officer gets knocked down because of big bad Mike Brown, and then Mike Brown is running away, hands in the air, police officer gets up, pop, pop. No, it was whatever kind of struggle ensued, Mike Brown running away, hands up, cop chases him down. As he's running away, hands up, he gets gunned down. Yeah, where I'm from, we have a word for that. It's called murder. Under no circumstances, in my opinion, is it okay to kill somebody when their hands are up and they're running away. But add in the fact that you're actually physically chasing after him too, and the whole idea of manslaughter to me just went out the window. Now you're just flat out looking at murder charges, son. Now, does anybody think for a second, and if you reverse the roles right now, and you heard that it was Mike Brown who shot an old white guy, police officer or not, running away, hands in the air, Mike Brown chasing, firing, that Mike Brown wouldn't already be in jail right now? But this guy does it to Mike Brown, and now, the guy hasn't even been arrested yet. Okay, see, this is why people are protesting. There is no justice. There is no justice. If you do justice, that's when the community will cooperate with you, but you're not doing that. So now let me show you what's happening on the ground. Here's a video of an officer threatening a reporter from last night.
Get back! What's up? Get the fuck out of here! You keep that light up, or you're getting yourself with this!
The light's off!
Get back! Leave it on! Get the fuck out of here! You're in the wrong way!
Hey, gentlemen! I got it! I got it! See a city police? No, you actually don't. I said, see a city police. I want to know the name of that officer. Calm down. Calm down. Don't turn that light on because they can't see. Okay, the light is off. But he came right over here and told me, get the fuck out of here or I will shoot you with this. Okay, he sure said that. I got it. You can't keep the lights on. Okay, the light's turned off. But the light is not a threat like you guys keep saying. Yeah, I'm going to keep the light off, officer. I promise you, I will keep the light off. But I was just threatened by that officer, and I am a member of the media.
I don't know if you heard it at the beginning there, but the guy said, turn off that light and get down or I'll shoot you with this. Threatening to shoot a member of the media for doing his job. He just had a light on them. That's it. Just a light and a camera pointed at them. Because he's part of the media. That's what he does. Threatened to get shot because you're doing your job. And then he repeatedly, that video goes on where he repeatedly asks, and by the way, that's KARG Argus Radio's Mustafa Hussein doing his job. He repeatedly asked, well, what's that officer's name? Something's going to be done here. You don't threaten to shoot a member of the media, period, ever. Sorry, that's against the law. Sorry. They refused to give the officer's name away. They refused. All right. What we're looking at here with the situation in Ferguson, this proves that the libertarians and the progressives have been right all along. When all somebody has is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you give the police officers tear gas and rubber bullets and noise machines and tanks and all these different things, they're going to want to use it. They're going to look at it as an opportunity to use the stuff that they've been given. In 1990, only $1 million worth of military equipment went to police forces all around the U.S. Today, it's $500 million. In total, $4.3 billion has been given. We're not in Fallujah. We're not in Baghdad. Have you ever been to Europe? Do you see what the cops look like over there? They carry around billy clubs, if that. Now, I'm not saying, we have to go all the way to that extreme here in the U.S., excuse me. But what I am saying is, what we're doing right now is not okay. Because we are essentially making our officers look like they're fighting in the middle of a war. And they're going to end up using that stuff. This isn't a fair fight. And this isn't a way you handle a protest. Okay? Now, we just got news today that the National Guard is actually being sent in to Ferguson. So, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Honestly, I don't know yet. Because if the National Guard does what they should do, which is actually they end up keeping in line more the police than they end up going after the protesters, well, that would be the National Guard doing the right thing, and then I'd be in favor of the National Guard going in. But there's also the possibility, let's be honest, that they go in and they crack down more on the protesters and they kind of side with the police and all their brutal actions, which would be worse. And then in that case, I would wish that the National Guard didn't go in. So it's an open question at this point as to how the National Guard is going to act and how it will turn out for the protesters. But look, what's happening right now is a terrible injustice. I mean, all people want is justice. All they want is for this guy to be arrested. All they want is to know that the lives of young black men are valuable and valued by society. And, of course, the message that's being sent from the police officers and, unfortunately, from the media in many respects is that, no, they're not. I mean, think about it, man. If you were part of the Ferguson Police Department and this horrendous incident happened that besmirched the way you're viewed, wouldn't your reaction be the exact opposite of what they're doing? I would have pulled a Captain Ron Johnson immediately and said, oh, my God, we're so sorry. That should never happen where a guy has his hands up running away and he gets gunned down. Under no circumstances is that okay. He's fired, he's going on trial, he's arrested, etc., etc. We're going to right this wrong. This is horrible. But what do? No, see, they don't view the people in Ferguson, which 70% African American, they don't view them as co-equals. They don't view them as humans. They dehumanize them. They say, oh, it's us versus them. It's in-group, out-group mentality. It's tribalism. They're the bad guys by definition, regardless of if they're 18 years old and unarmed. So therefore, we're going to always fall back in our corner and defend our boy, even when our boy is 100% wrong. That mentality is the problem. And the irony is, what are those people saying? All those police officers who are playing the in-group, out-group game. They're calling all the protesters and the peaceful people, savages, barbarians, you animals. And there's tape of them saying this too. There's video all over YouTube from the protests of the cops saying stuff like that, right? And what's the irony? The tragic irony is that, no, son. It's not the peaceful protesters who are like that. Maybe you could say it's the 1% of looters and rioters, if it's even 1% of the people in the protest movement that are doing that. But they're not the problem. They're the solution. Your punk ass is the problem. Shooting tear gas at Al Jazeera reporters and arresting media figures and using rubber bullets and all this armament when it's not necessary.